Hello, my friends. So, I want to tell you, smart women, why it is the marriage advice that you've been receiving isn't working. So, maybe you've read a lot of books and you've listened to podcasts and you're pretty well educated on communication and like love languages or maybe even attachment styles. Or maybe you've been to therapy and you've worked through some of your stuff. But when it comes to your most important intimate relationship, that with your husband, you cannot get through to him and you can't get your emotional needs met. You can't create harmony. Maybe the passion is going away and you're kind of in this roommates thing, and it's just not what you dreamed of. It's not how you want to go into your golden years with this, like, kind of limping along relationship. So, if you want to know why it's not working and what you can do instead, stick around to the end. For those of you who are new to me, my name is Shiloh Minor. I'm a love and marriage coach for women who love their husbands, but he won't go to therapy. He won't go to couples therapy. And so they're stuck wondering, how do I get through to him? I want to stay in this marriage, but I cannot stay in it for a long haul if some things don't change. And I want you to know I was in your shoes at one point and I had done so much research on relationships and I was still feeling so disconnected from my husband. There was so much bickering. And he's a really good man. We're together now. It's better than ever. We're still together and we have two small kids. And I think I'm a pretty good person. And so I couldn't figure out, why can two good people find it so difficult to make it work? So I'm going to tell you why. The reason that marriage advice is not working for you is twofold. One, a lot of it's written for couples. Here, you and your husband should do this together. Hi, Tahila, good to see you. You and your husband should sit down and have this conversation. You and your husband should go on date nights. You and your husband, and you're reading this and going, well, yeah, I would love to do that stuff, but if I was doing that stuff, I wouldn't need marriage advice, right? We would be doing it already. It would be working. Because a lot of the time, you just can't action that stuff as one person. You can't bring out a book and say to your husband, look, it says here, we got to go on date nights. Let's go. First of all, he's probably going to resist that. But also, it wouldn't be satisfying if you were driving the whole thing forward and it felt like it was a task for him. So a lot of books and a lot of advice is for couples, and that's not going to work very well for you when only one of you is actioning the items in it. There is some other advice that's for individuals, like how to talk in a kind tone of voice, how to be respectful, how to communicate your needs clearly, how to create that safe emotional space. And you might find that you kind of get that, but it's really hard for you to do. Like, you might be snapping back, or you might be shutting down, or you might be kind of making snide comments or passive aggressive jokes. And you kind of know that's not what you should be doing, but it's really, really hard for you not to, because you're frustrated, you're resentful, you feel stuck. And really, you're trying to get this man's attention. You're like, why is he not listening? Like, I've told him, I need to talk to you. I need these things. And he's not really getting it. Comment below if you feel like, yeah, like he's so good, but he just doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't get me. I don't feel seen, heard, or understood. If you have questions, you have comments, pop them in the chat. I can answer them right now for you. So the reason that you can't action these tips and tricks is because they're superficial. They're what we call tactics or strategies. These are great things to do if you can do them from a genuine place. But when you just paste them on top of resentment and like baggage and frustration, it's not going to ring true. It's not going to pierce his heart. It's not going to make him go, oh, that's my wife who I love. I should listen to her. Because your energy speaks louder than words. When you come to your husband to talk and you feel angry, you feel resentment, you feel mistrust, you feel afraid, like, he's going to shut me down again. He's probably not going to listen. Like, why do I waste my time? I'm just going to get hurt. All those thoughts create an energy that blocks you from connecting with him, that he's absorbing that. He's like, oh, this person is not there. She's not a fan of me. Like, I'm probably getting in trouble here. And you'll be like, why is he so defensive? That's not what I said. But if you're really honest with yourself, what are you thinking? Like, you're thinking, this person doesn't get it. This person's out to lunch. Does he even care about me? Is this going to even work? Like, all that negative vibe will prevent the words from working. Ask me how I know. I've been there. So what's the solution to this? If you're like, okay, I've done the things, but those don't even work, and he's not coming to the table, and he's resentful, the answer is to go inside. And I know you've probably heard this and been like, oh God, I've gone inside already so much and I got to go more inside. Well, the good news is there's always more inside. There's always more. And the reason that is good news is the more you're willing to face yourself, the more you're willing to love, forgive, and accept yourself, the higher your relationship can go. This is really exciting. I want all women to know this. If you're a woman and you're committed to like, I need to have a real life love story, I can't just have one of these petering out, like run of the mill relationships, even though it looks good on the outside, even though I have all the nice things and the kids and he's like not a bad guy, but you want to like feel in love and like chemistry and flirtation, you can have that. And the price is that you go in. That's what you have to do. That's what I teach my clients. That's what we spend a lot of time doing together, because there's a little girl inside of you who is really scared and does not want to be hurt again and doesn't want to be disappointed. And she's just like, you know what? I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect myself. And all that self-protection, which can show up in a few ways. It can show up as fawning, which is being overly pleasing and placating to your husband, even when you don't want to. It can show up as flight. So you're shut down, you're living your own life. You're like, I'm just gonna do me. It'll be fine. And it can show up as fight, where you're like bickering and you're telling them off and you're griping and you're complaining. None of these tactics work. Thank you, Tahila. You've been there, I'm sure, too. There's no shame in it. These are normal tactics where we go, I don't know what to do anymore. How do I get through to this person? But as you know by now, none of them work. So if you want to make them work, you have to work with yourself. How do you work with yourself? You get to know yourself. You ask yourself what you really want. You ask yourself what you really need. You validate your own emotions. You spend time creating space to see, hear, and understand yourself. Because if that seems like a waste of time to you, that's a red flag for you. Because if you aren't willing to take the time for you, why do you think your husband should take the time for you? You're not even valuing yourself on that level. Now, this might all seem very simple, and in a way it is simple, but it's just not easy, right? Because if it was easy, you would have already done it. You would have already taken this time and figured it out and been through the dark night and on to your happily ever after. So if you're like, all right, that's enough. Enough is enough. I need some help with this. I need to figure this out. This is draining my energy. This is holding me back in my career. This is holding me back in my mothering. Like, I do not want to be wearing this weight anymore of like, is this relationship going to work out? Can it last? Does he love me? Do I love him? Are we going to really have something beautiful, or am I going to have a divorce? Is that going to be my story? And maybe it's a second divorce. Maybe you're like, I have been through that once. I don't want to do it again. I have so many clients who say that. They're like, I know the real cost of this and I don't want to go there. I know I have a good guy. And they have a sense of their own power. Like, I've been through therapy. I've made some transformations. How can I transfer this to the marriage realm, right? You have successes and other errors, but the skills for your marriage are not there yet. So I have some space for free one-on-ones where I can walk you through what is the root of this problem? What is under the surface that is causing all these problems that are manifesting in your marriage? And how can you go about one by one healing those things, removing the blocks? Because the beautiful thing is, if you ever had a good time with your husband, if you ever thought he was fabulous and beautiful and fun and smart, you can go back to that. You can bring back the chemistry and the enjoyment and the play, because it's still there. It's just covered by protection, by resentment, by all these stories about who he is and who you are and what you can really have. And that's just all stories. It's not true. It's not true. And I've had every story myself. I know what it's like to be like, well, his mother and well, his family is like this and his personality is so different than mine. And how are we going to get it? And we can just use every excuse in the book to not risk our hearts again. But you're married. Why are we protecting ourselves? We want to be all in. We want to say, like, this is my person. It's my forever person. I need to open my heart and I need to try these new skills. Again, I have free consultations for you. This is a golden opportunity. When people come to these calls, they walk away going, I feel lighter. I feel clarity. I finally got to tell someone what was really going on with me. Because I know you don't want to tell people what's really going on with you. You're a classy woman. You have a reputation. You don't want your family thinking bad about your husband. And I respect all of that, but you need to be heard. You need to stop carrying those secrets of how you really feel and what's really going on, because that is eating you alive and it's not worth it, and it doesn't have to stay that way. So don't wait until things are hanging by a thread. Don't wait till you got one foot at the door, or your health is failing, or you just can't stand this man's presence to get some help. It doesn't have to be a ridiculous drama to get help. I feel like there's two ways we look at it as women. We go, my relationship's not that bad. I probably don't need help because people have it worse. I should suck it up. It's like kind of okay, which is like not true. If you're not satisfied, get help. Or we look at it and we say, this is so far gone. It's so bad. Nobody could help this. Yet another excuse not to get support and not to transform your situation. There's no such thing as too far gone. There's no such thing as not bad enough. The only question is, what do you want? That's the only question. And are you worthy of taking steps to having what you want? It's very simple. It's very simple, but that's all it is. What do you want? And for me and my clients, we want to feel loved and adored. We want to feel desired. We want to feel seen and known. We want to feel like this person has our back and we are so rock solid on a relationship that we can go out and expand and grow and develop and transform because our relationship is not taking all our negative focus. It's not draining us out. It's not causing us to lose sleep at night or, feel emotional hangovers after these fights and stuff. I could go on because this is my passion. I just had a client, we had one session, and she writes to me and says, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel finally. She was so crushed in spirit. And that was one session. After 3 or 4 sessions, it's like, it's a new world. You can have a beautiful relationship, even if you haven't had it up to this point. Even if it's been 10 years, I've worked with women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. I have worked with women married for 1 year, 20 years, 35 years. It doesn't matter. It's not about time. They say time heals all wounds. Not true. We know about resentment. It gets worse over time. If you don't do the healing work to release the pain from the past, start over with new skills, building the kind of relationship you actually want, that you're like, I love this. I'm looking forward to when we have more time together when we retire. I'm looking forward to when the kids move out and we get to have fun again and have your best friend back. Then do something about it. Don't just suffer. Don't just put yourself aside. If you have any questions, if you want to know anything from me, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. You can just book a call. I'm going to put it in the comments. It's also in my information, my bio on Facebook. Or you can check out my website, shilohminer.com. But don't delay if you feel the calling. If you're like, you know what, enough is enough. It's time. Just call me, okay? There's no obligation. I'm not going to pounce on you. I'm here to support you and help you with what you desire. This is a service for you. And I love it because there's so many unnecessary divorces and there's so much unnecessary suffering that good, hardworking women are going through who don't deserve that. You deserve to be supported by your husband emotionally, financially, tangibly. He wants to support you. He loves it. But we need to get in that healthy flow of giving and receiving and gratitude where it just becomes easier and easier and you end in an upward spiral where your relationship only gets better over time. You have dips, you have hard stuff, but it just keeps getting better. So again, I'm here for you. Contact me. Don't be shy. I can't wait to hear from you.